Happy Sunday night. Can't believe the weekend is over. Oh no. I hope your weekend was safe and healthy. I was out and about a bit, and there are a lot of people out and about, and I want you to be careful. I want you to wear a mask. I know some of you are going to like, oh, masks don't work. Masks are a symbol that you care about other people. And it's just a reminder to do the right thing. And this virus, it's not a joke. It's wicked. Many of you watch already know that my mom had it, my dad had it, my sister had it. My dad died about a month after having it. And I don't think that was the only thing, but it certainly didn't help. And one of my cousins got it and ended up in the hospital. So I know there's like lots of talk. It's a control tactic. And, you know, I mean, there's politics in everything. I'm not talking about politics because if you're blue, I love you. And if you're red, I love you. And if you're purple or green, we want to help you. So we don't take a position, but I take always a medical position, and that is I want you to be thoughtful, I want you to be safe, and people around me always know, I always say this, the don't worry, be happy people die the earliest from accidents and preventable illnesses. And I'm just beginning to write a new book. It's an addiction of mine. I love writing on happiness. And actually, I came across the research scale of 1 to 10. 1 is really awful. You want to die. 10 is amazing. That you actually want to target for about 8. Because people who are too happy can make mistakes, because all of us need some anxiety. But tonight, I want to talk to you about a very specific technique that I use with my patients to help decrease anxiety, decrease fear, decrease depression, decrease panic. And it's called breaking the bonds of the past. And if you want to read more about it, it's in my book, Feel Better Fast and Make It Last. I think it's about to come out in paperback, but actually it's a perfect book for the pandemic because so many people are doing things to help them feel better now, but not later, versus now and later, which is what I want you to do. Alcohol, not a fan. Marijuana, not a fan. CBD, wish it had more research. Overeating, really bad. And you may be one of the ones who have gained the COVID-19. And what I know, and I actually found myself in the last week, I'm like, I have to work harder. And, you know, whenever I gain a couple of pounds, like, I'm not going to be fat. I am not, right? It's just one of those things. I have fat genes in my family, and I'm not okay with that just because I know all the risks that go with it. But when I gain 2-3 pounds, I'm like, no, we're not doing this. And so I actually have a note section on my phone where I write down everything I eat and the calories. And I know some of you hate that, but this is the most rational way to keep your weight under control. Don't eat more calories than you burn. And there's all sorts of gimmicks on that. Oh, calories don't matter. Of course they matter. But I write everything down. And then so quickly, because if I want to lose a few pounds, I'll target 1,500 calories. And then I'll lose like half a pound a week. And then in 2-3 weeks, I'm back to where I want to be. But with this chronic stress, being exposed to the stress hormones, put fat on your belly. And I'm like, no, this is not okay. It's not good for you. Belly fat is pro-inflammatory, and we all know now about inflammation and COVID-19. It stores toxins. That's a bad idea. Everybody's putting all this disinfectant on their body and their hands, loaded with toxins. It decreases blood flow to the brain. We have a paper out for publication, 35,000 scans. As your weight goes up, function of your brain goes down, very bad. And so I say that, not ever to make someone who's overweight feel bad, but to motivate you, you got to get this right. And you can get it right during COVID-19. And it doesn't seem like the pandemic's going away quickly. So we have to come up with better strategies. But I find so many people that are reacting. I talked to one of my favorite people just 2 days ago, and the anxiety was just skyrocketing. And I did this exercise with her, breaking the bonds of the past. So it stems from the belief that negative feelings and behaviors are often based on past memories that are either toxic or misinterpreted, and evaluating the truth of these memories can help us feel better. This technique has only 5 simple steps. Whenever you have a painful or disruptive feeling, write down the answers to these questions. 1, when was the last time you struggled with the painful or disruptive feeling? Experience it. And write down, what were you thinking and what were you feeling? So in this situation, she felt out of control. 2, so write down what happened. This is actually 2. Write down the predominant feeling or the thought. 3, in your mind, close your eyes and go back to the first time you ever had that thought or that feeling. And she went back to a time when there was great family chaos. Or another example, I have all sorts of examples. I had a man come in with sexual failure. Every time he tried to have sex with his wife, it just didn't work. And so he wrote down, last time, tried to have sex with my wife, didn't work. What were you thinking or feeling? I'm a failure. Close your eyes. Go back in time to the first time you had that thought or feeling, I'm a failure. And see if there's a connection. And my friend who's out of control clearly went back to family situations where she was out of control. My patient who had sexual dysfunction, I mean, like within a minute, went back to a time when he was 5 years old. and his dad was beating him and calling him stupid because he couldn't learn to read. And he was later diagnosed with dyslexia. So you see how these feelings get connected in the brain. The brain actually works through association. And so if you have that associated memory, one, noticing it, and then eliminating it. So, 4, go back even further in time, if you can, and see if there's another event that may be triggering. And I always want you to ask yourself, is what I'm thinking or feeling now, or is it then? Is it something from the past? Always be thinking, is my reaction appropriate for the situation I'm in? 5, if you have a clear idea of the origins of your feeling, you can disconnect them from the past by processing them through an adult or parent mindset or reframing them in the light of new information. Consciously disconnect them. So, and in the book, I have 3 examples. I'm going to give you one more thing to do. So when I was a young psychiatrist, I saw Nate, who was 15, and he came to see me for panic attacks. And I did this exercise with him. And so, tell me the last time you had a panic attack, it had just been the day before. What were you thinking and feeling? I can't breathe. Close your eyes. I had him take 3 deep breaths and go back to the first time you had that feeling, I can't breathe. And he went back almost immediately to when he was 4 years old. Had a piece of steak caught in his throat. He turned blue. Nobody knew what to do. Was in a restaurant. Finally, some stranger came over, did the Heimlich maneuver on him, and he thought he was going to die. And that got planted in his brain. And his mother was there with him while we were doing this. And then after we dealt with that, and what I want you to do for each step back is take your shoulders, take your hands, the opposite shoulders, and just rub down with a healing message. It's bilateral hemisphere stimulation. A healing message is I'm safe, and I'm alive, and I'm okay, and that was then, but I'm safe now. And then after we did that, I took him back further. And he's 4 years old. So the idea he would remember anything else would have surprised me. But oh my goodness, it surprised me. And he then, when I told him, I said, just imagine yourself on a train going back in time. Is there any other times you can remember where you felt like you couldn't breathe? And he starts coughing. And he says, it's dark. And I'm wet. And something's wrapped around my neck. And people are yelling and screaming. And I'm going to die. And I see his mother out of the corner of my eye start crying. And what he was describing was he was born with the cord wrapped around his neck and had a significant impact on him. His APGAR scores, that's how you're tested. Like the day you're born, you get a test. And they do APGAR scores, the color of your skin and your breathing and vocalizations and so on. Were poor because he had the cord wrapped around his neck and there was so much worry. And again, I had him do this, that you are safe, you are here, you're going to be fine. And his panic attacks went away. It was so powerful. Doesn't always happen like that. But how you break the bonds of the past, and if this simple technique doesn't work for you, they're great therapists. And I'm a huge fan, and I have been for 30 years, of a technique called EMDR, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. And a therapist can walk you through something similar. There are also people who do tapping techniques, and they can be helpful and powerful. And if you can't remember, don't go find things that actually weren't there. I am not a fan of repressed memories. Now, yes, they can happen, but don't go looking for them, because you can, in fact, or therapists can, in fact, plant them into your head. So in my mind, and I haven't changed my mind on this in 40 years, in my mind, you need to have recollection of it. And if you don't, and it comes back later, you then need verification. It's one of the reasons they took hypnosis out of the courtroom, because too often the repressed memories could not be verified, and it would rip families apart. Anyways, this one technique, breaking the bonds of the past, can be so helpful. And I remember when I went through a really hard time and I went to a therapist. So let me just digress for a minute. People who see therapists are smart. Think of it this way. If you're a business person and your business is struggling, and you just deny that your business is struggling, guess what? You're going to have trouble, or you're going to go bankrupt. If you're struggling, if you have anxiety, depression, nightmares, trauma, anger, irritability, can't focus, obsessive, find the best consultant, therapist you can, but don't just go and talk. Go and get skills. I tell all of my patients, I'm like, okay, what's the goal? How are we doing? What's the goal? What do you want? And I always want my patients, yes, I want them to feel heard, I want them to feel understood, and I want them to have skills. Skills in not believing every stupid thing they think, skills on how they can calm their body and how they can begin to rid themselves of trauma from the past, skills in managing their mind and having a better brain. I mean, ultimately, I want you to have a better brain, a better mind, better relationships, and I want you to deeply know your sense of meaning and purpose. That's how we work with people at Amen Clinics. Anyways, I hope this was really helpful for you tonight. If you feel like you need help to break the bonds, the pain from the past, and you feel like you need more help than this technique can give you, we'd love to hear from you. The clinics are all open. We're scanning people. I actually published a big study showing we could separate emotional trauma, which often gets stuck in the brain, with physical trauma, traumatic brain injury, concussions, with high levels of accuracy. So if you've really been working to feel better and it's not working, I don't want you just to call your family doctor and go, I need Lexapro or Prozac or Zoloft, or, let's get to the root of the problem and then get better in those 4 circles. You can certainly go to amenclinics.com. Amen, like the last word in a prayer. Imagine growing up with that last name. amenclinics.com. Fill out a form or call us, and we'd just dearly love to help you. All right, I hope you have a spectacular week, and I will talk to you soon.